Hi, Sally Ann here. Have you ever told yourself, I'll start eating healthier tomorrow. I'll start on Monday. I'll wait until after the holidays. I've already eaten the chocolate, so I may as well enjoy myself today and start again tomorrow. Or perhaps you know what you want to change, but the thought of doing it all properly feels so overwhelming that you never quite get started. All or nothing thinking is something I have seen in many women I've worked with over the past 30 odd years. We often think it shows up after we've eaten something we hadn't planned to eat. We think, I've blown it. I've fallen off the wagon. I may as well keep on going and eat it all. But there's another side to all or nothing thinking that we don't talk about as often. It can stop us from starting in the first place. So we don't actually even get on the wagon to fall off it. If healthy eating means giving up all the foods you enjoy, preparing every meal from scratch, exercising every day, and doing everything perfectly, it's understandable that part of you might be thinking, not today, maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, maybe when life is less busy. In today's episode, I want to explore how all or nothing thinking can quietly keep you stuck in a cycle of starting, stopping, and starting again, and what a different approach to healthy eating can look like. All or nothing eating is often described as black and white thinking. Something is either good or bad, healthy, unhealthy, success or failure. And we can apply exactly the same thinking to ourselves. I was good today. I was bad today. I was in control. I lost control. I stuck to my plan. I blew it. This type of thinking can become so normal that we don't even notice it. And it might sound something like this. I had a piece of cake today, so I've blown it. I didn't go for my walk this morning, so there's no point in doing any exercise today. I've eaten so much this weekend. I'll just start again on Monday. I can't do this properly while I'm traveling, so I'll wait till I get back home. I haven't planned my meals, so I can't start this week. But I want you to think about what happens when you believe that you have ruined the day. One piece of cake can lead to eating the rest of the cake or whatever else you like for the rest of the day. One meal out becomes a weekend of eating things that you don't really want to eat. And one busy week can become a month away from the choices that normally support you. The piece of cake isn't the problem. Missing the walk isn't the problem. And having a meal out isn't the problem. The problem is the belief that one choice has cancelled out all the other choices available to you. Healthy eating doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to stay in the process. And I first realised how big an impact this all or nothing thinking had for women believing that they'd fallen off the wagon. I remember this conversation as if it was yesterday, and it was probably about 6 years ago or so when I first started my small group coaching programs. And the ladies really got a lot of benefit from hearing how each other were going. And I recall one lady saying, each day I try to do something. And that was a real revolution to the other ladies. And this client had multiple health issues. She was a mum and a wife and had a busy household. But for her, that was a moment of truth. And it certainly hit home to the other ladies as well. More recently, I had a conversation with a client who shared a pattern of eating and thinking that you may recognise as well. Over 3 consecutive years, she had lost and regained around 10 kilos of body weight. She knew a lot about healthy eating. She was very active. She had previously felt very fit and healthy. She knew what she thought she should be doing, but eventually she found herself caught in a very different pattern. In the back of her mind was the thought, I need to get back on track. Tomorrow I'll start. But tomorrow kept being postponed. And because she believed that tomorrow meant starting again, which meant restriction, the night before became an opportunity for her to have the foods that she wouldn't be able to have once she started. Chocolate was one example. She was thinking, I'm going to start tomorrow, so I better have the chocolate today. But tomorrow would come and the change wouldn't begin. Then the same thought would return. I'll start tomorrow. And the cycle just continued. This is something I often call last chance eating. You've been on diets or restrictive eating patterns. You may recognize it. You decide that from Monday, no chocolate, no chips, no takeaway, no desserts, no eating after a certain time. So what happens on Sunday? You find yourself eating more of those foods because you believe this is your last chance. And sometimes the anticipation of restriction is enough for us to want the food more. So the cycle looks like this. I need to get back on track. Then comes the promise of future restriction. That triggers last time eating. Then perhaps guilt, physical discomfort, or disappointment, and another promise. Tomorrow, I'll start properly. And the cycle begins again. This is why being able to follow a strict eating plan for a period of time is not the same as the skill of knowing how to nourish yourself for life. You might be very good at losing weight. You may have done it many times. But if the only way you know how to make these changes is to become more restrictive, more disciplined, more controlling, what happens when you can no longer maintain that level of control? This isn't about trying harder. It's about learning a different way to create change. Another important part of all or nothing thinking is that it often just doesn't stay with food. When you feel you're not eating well, you might think, what's the point of exercising? I'll get back to that when I'm eating better. Or perhaps I've had a stressful week. I'll start looking after myself next week. The woman I mentioned earlier noticed this too. As her eating became more or nothing, her movement and exercise also dropped away. I've seen this ripple effect many times. When women believe they're failing at healthy eating, they can gradually disconnect from the things that actually make them feel well. Movement, sleep, meal preparation, time outside, rest, drinking enough water, taking time to sit down and eat, just doing something enjoyable for themselves. This is why I see nourishment as being much bigger than food. And it's exactly what Tanya Grzeski and I were discussing on the podcast last week. When we're not nourishing ourselves in other areas of our life, food can start doing more jobs. Food becomes the reward at the end of the day, the break, the comfort, the distraction, the 5 minutes that are just for you. And if you've decided that you failed at healthy eating anyway, it's easier to think, why bother? But I want to offer you a different way of thinking about this. You do not need to eat perfectly to benefit from caring for yourself. The walk still supports you, even if you have eaten a little more than you intended. A nourishing dinner still supports you after you've snacked in the afternoon. Going to bed earlier still supports you when you've had a difficult day. Taking 5 quiet minutes for yourself still matters. So the next nourishing choice is always available to you. And perhaps take on board what that lovely client shared with me and helped so many ladies with was aim to do even just one thing for yourself each day. So what's the alternative to all or nothing thinking? It isn't giving up on your health, and it isn't saying that each choice will have the same impact on how you feel. The alternative is to stay connected to yourself. This is one of the reasons why I teach mindful eating. Mindful eating is not about eating each meal in complete silence, slowly chewing every mouthful, or never being distracted. That isn't real for most of us. Mindfulness is awareness, and there are degrees of awareness. Sometimes you notice something before you eat. You might think, am I hungry? What do I feel like eating? What would help me feel energized and satisfied all afternoon? Sometimes that awareness arrives while you're eating. You might realize, oh, I'm getting full. I'm not actually enjoying this as much as I thought I would. I think I've had enough and I'm happy to stop. And sometimes that awareness comes afterwards. You might notice I felt heavy and lethargic after I ate that. So many clients call this an energy crash that they experience after eating sugary foods. You might realize I hadn't eaten enough at lunch and I was looking for more food. Well, this afternoon I was actually looking for a break, not food. That meal didn't keep me satisfied for very long. I didn't sleep well after eating or drinking that. All of these moments are useful. All of them give you information. All or nothing thinking asks, did I get it right or wrong? Mindful eating asks, what did I notice and learn? That is a very different relationship with food. You don't need to start again because you've never left the process. You are noticing and learning, and you are gradually discovering what works for you. And that's what makes mindful eating sustainable. This week, I invite you to notice the language that you use around healthy eating. Listen for thoughts such as, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start on Monday. I've blown it. I've ruined the day. I need to get back on track. I may as well keep on eating now. There's no point. I can't do this properly at the moment. Don't judge yourself for having these thoughts. Just notice them. And when you do, ask yourself one question. What is one choice I can make now that will nourish me? Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when life becomes less busy, but right now. The choice might be sitting for your next meal instead of eating on the run. It might be making yourself a satisfying lunch. It might be remembering to have a glass of water. It might be going for a short walk. It might be getting to bed a little bit earlier. It might be asking yourself what you want to eat. Or it might be simply acknowledging today has been difficult. What do I need? One nourishing choice doesn't have to fix everything. In fact, I don't think that's really possible. It simply keeps you connected to yourself, and that is how sustainable habits are built. So all or nothing thinking tells us that healthy eating begins when we've cleared the cupboards, planned the perfect meals, found enough motivation to choose the right Monday to begin. But lasting change isn't created that way. It begins with the next choice and then another. It comes from learning and staying connected to yourself, even when food and life are messy. There'll be meals when you eat more than you intended. There will be days when you don't get to move as much as you would like. There'll be busy weeks, celebrations, holidays, and unexpected changes. Healthy eating habits need to be a part of your real life. You don't need to keep getting back on the wagon. You need a way of eating that allows you to be human, to be you. In the next episode, I'm going to share one simple habit-changing tip that can help you move away from eating automatically to becoming more aware of why you are eating and what you actually need. It only takes a moment. It can be practiced anywhere, and it's a simple place to begin if you want to change an eating habit. Until then, I encourage you to notice those all or nothing thoughts, and remember, you don't have to wait until tomorrow to nourish yourself. You can begin with your very next choice. If today's episode has helped you recognize that you're tired of starting and stopping with healthy eating, I have a free guide to help you explore a different approach. My 5 steps towards a new way of eating will introduce you to a more mindful and personalized way of creating healthier eating habits without another diet or set of rigid rules. You can find the link in the show notes and take your first step today. Thanks for listening, and if you have enjoyed this episode, let us know and share the link on your social media pages or with a friend who you feel could benefit. I look forward to sharing a simple tip to get you started with a new way of eating next week.